Hello, fairy finders and fairy seekers. Welcome to FaerieQuest and another episode of Real Fairies in Real Photos. This episode is entitled Elves because that is all you're going to see in this one. Are the elves from a number of different locations in Iowa? Yes. So before we get started, grab your magic wand and zap that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to consider supporting this channel by clicking on the link in the description box below. All right, let's check it out because it's coming up on Christmas. We had to show the elves. Here we go. This is an elf that is a lot more burly than my own mind's image of an elf. But as I always say, there are many different species. This one is wearing a hat, has a pointed ear, and a thick beard. He is wearing a coat that matches his hat and appears to have gloves on as well, since his hand is not the same flesh color as his face. He is quite broad-shouldered, too. We are seeing an amazing blend here of a female elf. If it weren't for the shape of her hat, her long dark hair, and her round face, with no features by the way, I probably would have just passed her by. However, when looking closer and also examining the leaves around her, it is obvious that she is there and that she was practicing her blending skills. This is one that I could not enlarge too much for you, and another where I looked to the surroundings to compare. She is tiny, but her hat, hair, and face, not the features, are clear. We can also see her dress and one pointed elf shoe. She appears to be marching or moving with absolute purpose. I made this extra large for you above because it is one of my favorites and I really wanted you to see her. We can see this little elf on the head of what looks like a dog, if the shape of the face is any indication. We can see her hair, her face, a bit of her leg, and her boots. Her face and hair are almost clear or close to invisible. If you are this small and you want to get around quickly, what better way than to befriend a beast, right? This little elf is so cute. We can see his profile, but I cannot seem to make out anything except his head. We can see his pointed ear, his face with one eye, and his nose. He is also wearing what I am calling a headdress, similar to what a Native American chief might wear. Did we catch him playing cowboys, or is this just what this elf species wears? This is another of my favorite fairies. There is no indication on this little guy of pointed ears, which would, to me, indicate elf, but he just looks like an elf in my opinion. We can see his hat, his flesh-colored face, which has an easy-to-see nose, closed eyes, and adorable chubby cheeks. I believe he is holding his hands up to his jacket lapel, though we can't see the jacket or lapel. Sometimes what I see extra is in my mind's eye. I think we can agree that he is peeking out from beneath the leaf. This is a phenomenal photo. We have here a very sad elf sitting in the hollow of a dead tree. His face is turned toward the larger log and he is looking down. He appears to be squatting down. There is also a much smaller fairy being in front of the sad elf. We can see the back of her head, her brown hair, and her dress. She appears to be handing the sad elf a tissue. This elf was pretty well camouflaged in the green foliage, but not quite well enough. We can see his pointed hat, pointed ear, both of his eyes, nose, and mouth. He is looking down, and it is almost as though he is reading a leaf like a book. Maybe he is. Who are we to say for sure? We can also see one shoulder and one hand. This is a much larger elf than what we've been seeing so far. He is lying on his back in the weeds. We can see his hat with the long tail, his very round face with eye, nose, and mouth, and we can see one arm and hand. There is a bit of his upper torso as well. I wonder if these Fae sky gaze like we do to see what shapes the clouds make, or if he just fell over to try to avoid being seen. We have nearly this elf's entire body visible. We can see black hair, a pointed ear, and the face. I believe there are 2 arms visible as well, but no room to label them for you. The pants are ones that come just below the knees. There is only one very thin leg with a foot that we can see. My guess is the other one is bent at the knee and out of our sight. This is a wonderful example of a fairy who has formed itself from the leaves.